John Miller, Chris Williams. From the Channel Seed Studios, it's Miller and Williams. Presented by Wild Rose Casino and Hotel. 3 locations in Iowa. 3 times the fun. You'd rather be here. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Hello, welcome to Snow Day episode. I feel like this is I like pro wrestling, and they'll just like randomly name like, oh, it's Monday Night Raw, and they'll give it like a name,
right?
Kind of like a pay-per-view thing. Yeah.
Titty Twister.
Miller and Williams. Snow Day here on Iowa Everywhere.
Right. You know, it's not unprecedented because what we had the last time Central Iowa was under the gun like this with weather, this severe snow, I think was like December 8th and 9th of 2009.
Yep.
And I remember that pretty clearly because that was the famed Snowmageddon. And that was when Dace and I were snowed in the studio for 2 nights. Andrew Downs came in to give us the breakdown on his drive-in on day 2, said Kias were littered about the streets of Des Moines. Probably some of the best ever radio content I ever did or ever will do. But man, that was brutal. But this looks like it could be worse for Iowa. Like you guys had what? How much snow did Des Moines have from the first batch?
I mean, I had like I had at least 10 inches here.
That's what
make your jokes.
Yeah, I had to. Okay, so how much more are you gonna get now?
Probably another 10.
Oh gosh.
And then it's gonna be like below 0 and blowing everywhere.
The blowing. That's the thing, and that's what we had in 2009. It was like I can play you the freaking Jerry Ann Ritter like. Horrible conditions. I mean, it's almost like a joke, like the end of the world's happening. This is worse. What you guys are experiencing now, 10 inches on top of 10 inches with 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. This is as bad. This is as bad. Like all of your parents, all your I remember one time back in April of this, that, and the other. This is it. Like you're living in the storytelling right now, and you're like, John, shut the F up. We don't need you to tell us what we're going through. I just
can one up you now. God rest her soul.
You can one up me. I don't have an analog for this. I don't think I've ever experienced this in my 52 years of living on this planet, what you guys are going through. So congratulations.
What is it down there in Kansas City?
So right now we got back from Orlando on Wednesday. The snowstorm hit on Tuesday. I think it was the same one that hit you guys. I think we got like 4 or 5 inches, and it iced here overnight. Our good buddy Ken Miller, he and I were texting yesterday. He, of course, reached out to the right person to talk and ask weather questions to. Ken was asking me yesterday if he thought he could make it from Kansas City to Des Moines today in the afternoon.
No.
And then I said, let's talk in the morning. And we just literally texted before you and I went live. And I said, Kenny, don't do it. Do not do it. And you know Ken. Ken wants to be home so bad. I mean, he wants to be.
Oh, he's such a homebody.
He would back his car into the parking spots at WHO radio stations so he could get the F out of there the second he was done. And even better, he would have the last segment of his show taped and recorded so he could get out of there ahead of time. But Kenny, stay put. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's brutal out there. I don't remember. This doesn't happen very often. 2 things from this snowstorm where my youngest daycare is closed twice this week, which I think probably is a little bit of an indictment on a worker shortage as well. I would guess.
Yeah,
but they don't do that. They don't do that very often. And then both nights they've canceled school the night before. They didn't even wait to see what happened. They're just like, no, we're just pulling the trigger.
Well, yeah,
which I appreciate as a dad because I can plan a little bit.
For sure. And people say, well, when I was a kid, when we were kids, they were dumbasses. All right.
Well, they didn't have the information either. Like we didn't all have radars in our pocket.
No, can you let me share the screen real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just I like basically I'm like an amateur meteorologist because of my job.
You are. I remember you used to go into those Cyclone Fanatic weather threads all the time. That was your thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was vacillating between sportscaster or meteorologist before I went to college. But for my work now in energy, I have to in this time of year every day I'm looking at weather 2 or 3 hours a day. And this is one of the most impressive one of the most impressive storm setups. This thing is incredible. The power, that's not really a good look. Let's stop that. But look at this Iowa. This is
like the whole state.
This bands of snow, this little dry pocket, if that creeps a little north, that can help you guys out. But man, this is a low pressure system centered almost right over Kansas City right now. Holy crap. And all this energy here is going to get sucked back in on the backside of that spinning low. Iowa's going to keep getting hammered. Chicago's hammered. My gosh, that's impressive. That's impressive. And you're probably talking about maybe 960 to 990 millibar low pressure system in the wintertime. That's a monster. That's a freaking monster. Anyhow, congrats everyone. You'll make it. You'll survive. But
good question here. Brent's watching us on YouTube.
Brent from Brent McIntyre?
No.
Oh, Brent Welder. Okay.
We wanted to know if you're going to go to the Chiefs game.
That's a big NO. I was offered multiple free tickets yesterday and said I would probably need in the area of $5,000 paid to me to go to that Chiefs game. Otherwise, I'm not interested. And even at $5,000, I don't think I'd do it.
I did it with the Vikings, 6, 7, 8 years ago. It was the second coldest game in NFL history, and it was outdoors. It was when they were playing where the Gophers play.
Right.
And it was wild. Like I'm glad I went because it's one of those experiences that you look back on that. And I was with Travis Hines, who writes for the Register now, and we just had so much fun, even though the team lost. But it was a real deal where you walk in, and we were drunk, to be honest with you. We've been chugging Fireball for about 2 hours,
as one should.
Yeah, and I bought a beer, and the beer literally froze upon opening it. It was crazy.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it was like minus 15 plus the wind chill. Like, it was the second coldest game ever. So it's the NFL's been around for a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that's crazy too, because alcohol lowers the freezing point, but there's also
it does.
water.
It was but it was like a Miller Lite, so there's not a lot of alcohol in it.
That's true. There's a lot of water in that. But they're saying this Kansas City game could challenge the record for the coldest game in NFL history. Welcome the Miami Dolphins.
The feels like has to be with whatever the wind chill's going to be down there.
Minus 30. Negative 30 degree wind chills.
Am I dumb for just housing the under on this because the Chiefs offense sucks?
No, you're not dumb at all. I actually was texting with my brother-in-law and his buddy just about 15 minutes before we came on, and I saw the over-unders now at 43.5. I said, hey, guys, free money alert, the under. And my brother-in-law was like, dude, I was already on it earlier this week.
I got it at 44.5, but I think I might do more.
So you're gonna. I think it's the A-Chain Mostert Pacheco game. I mean, I just think that if you really, I think it's going to be low scoring. I think actually the Dolphins' offensive line is really good, and their defensive line. I mean, I think this is like a nobody gets out of the teens game. This is going to be brutal. So hats off to anybody who goes. Good luck.
I'm excited to watch the game. I like these crazy weather games. They're just fun, but it does kind of take a little bit of luster. Dolphins Chiefs would have been really cool. They were playing but whatever. This is what I like about the NFL playoffs. I like it so much more than how college does. Well, college is going to do this, so that's good. But I love hey, Dolphins, you want a home game? You should have won last week aspect of it.
Yeah, I do respect, but I will also say that I don't know that I like. So if the 4 division winners get the top 4 seeds. So
Correct.
you look at the NFC South, and
It's
you
garbage.
have what? Pardon me?
It's garbage. The
It's
NFC South.
garbage. And one of those teams is seeded 4th, where the Eagles are seeded 6th.
Yeah.
That's just dumb.
Yeah.
But
I see your
I guess
point
win
there.
more games. Yeah, and Detroit.
I don't like
I think
neutral
Detroit
field.
got hurt.
One thing, if I was like the commissioner of all sports, I would cut the amount of neutral court and neutral field games in half.
Mm-hmm.
Like your Maui's, I like the Thanksgiving tournaments and college hoops, but like these, like, oh, it's the Peach Bowl kickoff in Atlanta featuring Florida State and LSU. Like, we have no need for that. Play it on a campus.
Right.
That's
No,
where,
I'm down with that, especially that time of year, because everybody's weather's good.
yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
I'm
like
with
you're
you.
taking a home game away from one of these, like, these towns need it, like when Iowa State and Kansas State did that for a while, like it drove me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, just play them on the campus.
Speaking of that, have you caught wind of the Kansas football issue for next year?
No, what do we got going on?
They've got these renovations, significant renovations they're going to do to their football stadium.
Yeah, I knew about that.
Make really good upgrades, right? Problem is, they didn't have any plan in place. They thought, Kansas University people thought, that they could have the construction ongoing and still play their games there. Like what happened at Iowa when Iowa first did the new press box and all that stuff. They were able to like play the season while working on the upgrades, the south end zone, et cetera, the north end. They never had to shut down a season and play games at where would you play them? And then have to share a stadium with Iowa State. Kansas didn't have the Kansas University officials were convinced they'd just be able to play, even though the construction people I don't think you're going to be able to play. Well, they're not going to be able to play. They don't have a site yet to play their games.
Wow.
So it's not a really good situation. Now Arrowhead seems to be like, okay, Arrowhead, I don't know that they're going to want to do that, because Arrowhead's a couple of years away from having to, they're going to do some renovations themselves to get ready for the World Cup in 2026. So the Jayhawks, I don't know where the Jayhawks are going to play. Maybe they can play like Olathe South.
There's all those community colleges in Kansas. Just go to one of them.
But you're maybe talking max 20,000 seats, which, go ahead and put the jokes in for
I'd say that's
here.
Pretty easy.
That would have been great,
yeah,
10, 15 years ago. Anyhow.
Coolest thing ever was when Hilton flooded. Do you remember that really bad flood in Hilton where that wasn't that long ago?
Like 93?
No, it did it again. This probably would have been during your little rendezvous in Oklahoma, so I don't know how much you were paying attention. It would have been 2010, 2011-ish. Okay. I was living in Ames. In fact, you would have loved this, being a weather guy. All my photographs from it got picked up by the Weather Channel and like CNN and because Ames was completely flooded. You know where that river is going over Highway 20? No media could get into Ames. And I was there.
You were there.
I was living there.
Yeah.
So I'm in there like taking all these pictures of like these flood zones and stuff like that. And it got picked up by, anyways. So Hilton floods. They got to do all this. They got to do all this work to it. So they played the Iowa State volleyball games at Ames High, and it was freaking awesome.
I bet it was.
I
bet it was great.
I'm all about making smaller arenas for a lot. Like if you're Kansas football, even though you're getting better, you don't want to get bigger. Like if anything, downsize to make it. Sure. To make the atmosphere better, like playing those games in a high school arena. And this is college volleyball. So it's we're not at the point now, like college volleyball is a lot more popular now than it was 15 years ago, but it was so much fun. Like I went to like 5 games that year because it was just packed and people were just crazy about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Anyways. So Hilton flooded in 2010 and I just looked it up and I was still in Iowa because I remember being sent out by the WHO news director at that time to go down to the river there in Des Moines and shoot some video, because that was kind of the start of the whole, hey, can you go out and get us some video and we'll upload it to our website kind of a deal. So yeah, but I had forgotten that Hilton flooded at that time, and you were like Snake Plissken, Escape from Ames. You couldn't get in, couldn't get out, and you were the voice for people. So
I was just stuck.
Really good role.
Well, I was lucky because my wife was in vet school at the time. We had just gotten married, and yeah, I was still living in this tiny ass little apartment there. Think back to those days, making like $20,000 a year, paying both of our way.
And now you make that a month, every month.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. We are. I botched it. I apologize to our friends at Wild Rose Casino that we had them in the open, but they are the presenting sponsor of Miller and Williams here on Iowa Everywhere each and every week. The Hawkeyes play tonight. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to date this thing. I think a lot of people will be listening to this pod throughout the weekend. Iowa State had a big win over Houston this week. They play
Iowa State.
Oklahoma.
My Final Four dark horse. Said it after they kicked Iowa's ass. I said, this team looks like it has the fingerprints of a Final Four team. If they can get their offense a little more consistent, that's a big win. And listen, Houston, I'm not a big believer in Houston. Wasn't last year. And granted, this year for Houston, they will have proven it, right?
Yeah.
If they've got 4 or 5 losses at the end of the season and they're on the 2 line, they earned it. Because they're in the Big 12.
Well, actually, I was telling our buddy Jason Luch this yesterday. I was sitting in his office, and I said I'd put a future ticket on Houston right now, because even if they have 5 losses in the Big 12, which they probably will, they're going to be so much more battle tested and ready for the NCAA tournament than what they have been playing in the American. They're really good. Iowa State's played really good defense the last 2 years. Okay. Iowa State's been top 5 the last 2 years. I have never seen a college team compete on the defensive end like Houston did.
Really?
They
even
are
some of Huggy Bears teams?
Yes. Because those Huggy Bears teams, I mean, okay, maybe I should clarify it like this: compete in the half court defensively.
Okay.
Like Houston does. Like the Huggy Bear teams is so much full court, just pressuring you nonstop, and they fouled a lot. And like these Houston guys, as far as like rotations and just how hard they work on that end, it's no wonder they're the 325th slowest team offensively in college basketball, because they're freaking out of gas when they get onto the offensive end because they work so damn hard on defense.
Right.
It was impressive. I thought for sure. I mean, I would have bet you anything that Iowa State was going to lose by 10 when Houston pulled that within like 3. It did not feel right. So that's what made it such a good win, I thought, for Iowa State, because they staved them off. You knew Houston was going to close in on that. Like they weren't just going to let pull away and beat them by 20. They don't lose like that. But
yeah,
nonetheless,
big balls, nice shot.
Yeah,
good looking player.
Iowa State has Oklahoma State on Saturday. You've been in Orlando. I want to talk about this because I'm very open that I think Orlando might be my least favorite city in America that I've been to. At least this is not a slight on Disney. I've never been to Disney, which is maybe why I hate Orlando so much, because it's so Disney centric. And when you want to do anything else,
it's horrible.
The Disney thing, just like, I'm a huge Braves fan. Like at some point I would love to go to the Braves spring training, but they play there at the Wide World of Sports complex. I just don't think I can ever do it. I don't want to take trips to Orlando just for leisure anymore. And you apparently, based on the notes for the show that you sent me, have had a bad Orlando airport experience. I've had many of these. What in the world happened to you? Were you at Disney? What's going on?
Yeah, so we flew in. So it was me, Grace, Mary, and my wife.
Little
21-year-old, 14-year-old, and when you get the 21-year-old willing to go on a family trip at this stage of life, you take your shot. And first of all, best family trip we had because the kids don't fight anymore. And that was like so nice. There was no tension, no fighting. It was fantastic. Me and Mary and Grace watched Lost like 3 or 4 episodes every night, just a big marathon going on. So it was great. But so Universal Studios, that's the place to go, not Disney. Disney's like fast pass system for it sucks. Universal's awesome. So I'm feeling great. I got both my kids with me, 21-year-olds there, knowing that like, there's an old saying, I don't know if it's true, probably is for some. You're around your kids every day of their lives till like, through like their age of 18, right? And then once they go to college and once they're done with college,
it's all over.
You may only spend 365 days with them for the rest of your life, 1 year. All right. You're with them every day for 18 years. Then
you're really depressing me.
Well, this is not, you can look at it 2 ways. You can be depressed for what could be lost, or you could appreciate what you have and appreciate the present even more.
So here's my problem as a human. I'm not trying to interrupt your story. My issue as a human is that I have a hard time just like sitting here and enjoying it now. Like I'm always thinking like 5 years down the road.
I get it. I know. I get it. And there's nothing wrong with that because you're trying to plan and provide for your family from when you're not around.
I'm going to die.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to die.
Okay. So little Gracie, Gracie is now, she's at Kansas and she's like, Dad, I want to go on this trip. And you put the chips all in. We're going to Orlando.
Yeah. We're going to Orlando, rented this house. Every room's got like a Star Wars theme, Harry Potter theme, just so much fun, game room, all this stuff. So yeah, let's roll out the red carpet, go, hey, we're going to Universal. We're pulling up. I'm excited. I don't like roller coasters. Okay. Do not like them. I think at some point in time, adults reach an age where that makes us sick, or I don't know what it is, but we just like, I don't know, we get soft. But I'm pulling in. I'm like, you know what, girls, today I'm going to ride every single ride that you guys want me to ride with you. And they were like both smiling. They start laughing like little kids. And that's why I did it. I said, I'm going to have one veto though. I get one veto. Right. Because I saw a ride pulling up that was starting out going straight up, went over a little hill and went straight down. And I'm like, nope, not doing that. So I'm like, I'm vetoing that one. They're like, okay, that's fine. I didn't do my research. This was all knee-jerk reaction, being happy in the moment. So we walk in, we're making our way through Universal, going through the Dr. Seuss land. I'm like, let's get to the Harry Potter area because I love the Harry Potter stuff there. It's like you feel like you're in like Diagon Alley, and it's awesome. Well, we walk by Jurassic Park first, and like, hey, there's a roller coaster. I'm like, okay, let's go. And I see it. I'm like, okay, looks like there's might be one upside down. I'll just close my eyes. Okay. So we get the Universal Fast Passes, which worth every penny. And like, you're just going by people like, hey, sorry. You feel a little guilty. It's certainly, it's really bougie, but anyway.
I feel like if you're going to do this, you have to do this. And again, I don't do these amusement parks often, but I feel like this Fast Pass is a no-brainer.
This is an hour-long line, but in the Fast Pass took us 10 minutes. Okay.
Brutal.
So we're getting locked into this thing. They're pulling it over. Okay. So I've got a hat on and I'm like, okay. They're like, hey, sir, you don't need to tuck your hat in. Okay. I tuck my hat in, tuck it down my shirt and all that. And then they're like, you may want to, and this is literally hey, you may want to put your glasses in your pocket. I'm like, oh. Okay. So I take my glasses off, put them on like this, and start reaching down. And then we're just it's not a chain propelled thing. This thing is I don't know if it's magnet or some type of magnetic propulsion, but that thing goes, I'm back in my seat. Now, granted, I've got my glasses in my mouth and this thing's going so fast. There's no tick, 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 climbing up that first hill, letting you prepare. You're freaking in. You're in, you're doing loop-de-loops, you're going straight up, straight. I'm getting sick thinking about it. Anyway, I'm sitting there, my eyes closed, holding on for dear life, like this. My head's getting jostled around. Don't even realize this. Grace is over here screaming at the top of her lungs, and then she stops screaming. I'm like, I hope she's still here alive and didn't fall out, because we went over a hill and we came out of our seats, zero gravity, and then into a twist and an upside down. And I'm sitting there going, do not let go of these glasses, because your whole rest of your trip's going to be ruined, but also don't bite them and break them. Dude, it was terrifying. Horrible. Halfway through, there's no place to catch your breath. Halfway through, you slow down a little, and then they kick you back through the magnetron. 1 minute and 47 seconds later, we're done. And I get off that ride, almost fall down. My knees are so wobbly. My heart rate is at 137 beats per minute from my Apple Watch. Want to puke. Grace is a little shaky. And I later Google the Velocicoaster ride. Allegedly, it's the top 5 most intense roller coaster in the United States and one of the most intense in the fucking world. And the girls are just laughing their asses off. The whole day they were laughing about it. And I'm like, you know what? It was worth it for that. But I'll never set foot on a roller coaster again in my life. Because right after that, we went and rode this Harry Potter thing that I rode 2 or 3 times when we did it together 4 years ago. No problem. And halfway through that ride, my back is just soaked. I have a layer of sweat on my back. I was looking around where I was going to throw up. I'm getting sick even thinking about it. And dude, you hit a point in life where you can't hang anymore. So
you're there.
I'm there. So
Chris is in our comments. He's watching on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. Chris is just feeding us a line, or he says, once you hit 40, the fluid in your inner ear gets thick. This is what causes the roller coaster issue as you get older.
I think he's right. It's an inner ear issue. Yeah. And it was horrible, dude. I've not felt that bad in a long time. Had to basically sit down for about a half hour after the Harry Potter ride.
Zach wants to know if you puked. Did you puke?
No, did not.
No
Haven't puked. Can't even remember the last time I puked. I got a Seinfeldian record going right now on the no puking. So it's been a long time.
TB says, okay, girls, I'll write anything you want, but I get 9 vetoes.
You don't have enough time for 9 rides in a full day. Oh, but then the next day we go to, so again, Universal is the bomb. Fantastic. I mean, you can't beat the Harry Potter experience there, but we love Star Wars in this family too. So the next day we go to Disney Hollywood, which quite frankly, other than the Star Wars, it's not worth the money. It's just not, it's not. But so we go there, we get in the Star Wars Resistance ride, and the line was 85 minutes long. Cause they have you can get in line at a certain time, which we did, which somehow that line was, I don't know. It was all janky. Anyway, the Rise of the Resistance ride. And apparently the guy, Adam Driver, the guy that plays Kylo Ren in the new Star Wars movies, he actually rode that at Disney Hollywood like 3 days before we got there. And 3 days before we got there, those lines were like over 200, 300 minutes long. We get on the ride. The coolest thing I've ever seen made by man. Not as cool as Yosemite and some of the natural things I've seen in my life, but that ride was one of the most immersive, fun, amazing things I've ever seen. We were literally, they open the doors and you're like in the bay of a Star Destroyer, and they have that window that looks out. It was one of the coolest things we've ever done. Absolute bucket list for anybody that has any level of affinity for Star Wars. And even if you don't, it's so cool. But other than that, Disney Hollywood sucks. So
English says this is the most wholesome family vacation I've heard about in a minute.
Well, I appreciate that. And thankfully the Millers had like no arguments. It was fantastic. That night we get home, the girls are on the couch. I had pushed pause on Lost for something. I had to do something work related. They're putting their feet together, making a little bridge and a tent with
cute
blankets. And I recorded it. They didn't know I recorded it. Still don't. And
I recorded my daughter singing Billy Ray Cyrus, Achy Breaky Heart in her room last night. And she didn't know it.
Yeah, because in 10, 15 years, you're going to pull that up and you're going to cry, and it's going to be great. And that's what it was about. So it was all great. It was a great experience. And it's just such a great thing when your 21-year-old even wants to go on a vacation with you. And then we get to the airport, and I'd seen Doctorman and some other people come leaving town from the Iowa game last week, talking about how they missed their flights, 2-hour long line to get through security. And I'm like, well, surely it won't be that bad, after the bowl games are over. It took an hour. Now, I have TSA pre-check, but Grace doesn't. Mary did, and my wife did. So I hung out in the line with Grace, bit the bullet with the Gen Pop and the Proles, and that was an hour. And their systems there suck. That airport is so. You'd think of any city in the country,
you're right,
have a new airport.
It's unreal.
It'd be Orlando.
Yeah,
and it's like it's trash.
It's horrible. The restaurants and like coffee shops suck. Like everything sucks about that airport. The security lines suck.
The security line thing is the worst.
You got the pre, right?
Pre-check?
TSA pre?
No, I have TSA pre-check, but Grace doesn't. So
yeah,
I
your
waited
family
in
does.
the Gen Pop line with her.
Oh, that's what. Okay, yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
Felt like I was.
I didn't catch your Gen Pop reference.
Prison.
I won't. That's the best $75 any human will ever spend.
It is. Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't matter if you travel once a year. It's worth it because you get it for what, 5 years?
Longer than that.
Sorry, I was reading something real quick. I feel like we do need to alert the public. Iowa State wrestling tonight. They're still having it. They were supposed to wrestle Utah Valley. They've moved it from 7 to 5 o'clock tonight. This is Friday night. If you're listening on Saturday, don't worry about this. It says in the press release, Iowa State strongly encourages fans to avoid traveling and to watch the broadcast on Big 12 Now, ESPN+. They also note that they are gathering information on pending weather event regarding tomorrow's game. So the women will play Baylor at noon. And then I'm worried about this Iowa-Nebraska game tonight. Although I would think that Nebraska probably would have gotten to town because it's not that far of a trip for them. I would think that they would have planned ahead a little bit to already be in Iowa City.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to cancel college athletic events. Like, it just doesn't generally happen, but maybe we're in a spot where they need to tonight.
Right. So Indiana and Iowa women's basketball game tomorrow. Big game.
Yeah, it's NBC, right? Or Fox. It's on Fox.
It's a big game. This is as of 55 minutes ago. An Indiana spokesperson said that Indiana is still planning to leave at 2:30 today, but they're monitoring the weather in Iowa. And then John Stepp from the Gazette had a tweet saying commercial airlines have already canceled most of their flights into Cedar Rapids. So I don't know that that's going to happen. I do think that Nebraska and the officials, the Huskers got there on Thursday, Fran McCaffrey said, and the officials will be there. So I think what you may see is they play the Iowa-Nebraska game, but they may just say they don't allow fans to come in, and it's like a COVID game from years ago where it's just.
Oh, it won't be that different for Iowa.
You know how badly I would love to blow you up on that, but I'm not going to. I mean, you're not wrong.
Come on. If I didn't make that joke, all my Iowa State people.
It's laying right there, dude. I get it. Come on. You talked earlier about arenas being lower. Didn't Baylor just do something like that? It's like, I think Iowa City, like Carver Hawkeye Arena, is a great arena. And yeah, the women are selling it out, but that's probably not going to happen after Caitlin's gone. I bet, Iowa will have a representative women's basketball crowd like they've had when Megan Gustafson was there and before Caitlin got there. Probably better for a bit as long as they keep, winning. But I think Iowa needs like a 10,000, 12,000 max seat arena. And that would be great.
What do you do? Can you tear down Carver Hawkeye?
No. I think you need to build it out where the Hall of Fame is.
You just have that for wrestling? Like wrestling just has its own deal?
Yeah, or maybe you maybe you can renovate that and make it to where there are fewer seats, more luxury suites, restaurants on a top tier. You don't need to probably do the whole thing, but yeah, I mean, those days are done, man. And that is not specifically an Iowa issue.
No, it's humanity.
Yeah, it's humanity. Now, Iowa women season sellout. They have a unicorn who I think before Caitlin Clark is done, and I know we maybe only have a couple, 2-3 months left, although Iowa, a buddy of mine, and I agree with him, Iowa should figure out a way to pay her like $5 or $10 million to come back for one more year.
It'd be worth it.
It'd be worth every effing penny.
Yeah.
It'd be worth every penny.
Absolutely.
But I think Caitlin Clark I think she's going to be the most famous college athlete in the history of American college athletics. Tim Tebow won a Heisman Trophy. Recognize this, and Tim Tebow was widely known. And Reggie Bush, he was really popular too. Won a Heisman Trophy. There was a guy by the name of Michael Jordan that a few people knew back in the early 80s.
Social media is like this.
That's it. They didn't have social media. They didn't have NIL. They didn't have their faces on State Farm commercials. They didn't have likely their own shoe coming out. They weren't featured the way that Caitlin is. And again, if NIL and social media would have been around back then, Tim Tebow and Jordan maybe would have been more popular than Caitlin. The thing is, the social media aspect, Caitlin Clark just happens to be here at a time. I think there's no doubt she's the most widely recognized college athlete in America right now, because you also have the crossover appeal of women. Not that there wasn't that for Tebow. Tebow's Christian faith, I think, helped widen his appeal for some people that wouldn't normally tune in or know about college football. Caitlin Clark covers that bridge from a gender standpoint, and men are amazed, women are amazed, little girls want to be, remember that, want to be like Mike? That Nike's going to do that with Caitlin. Just a different, maybe different words. I want to be Caitlin Clark.
I was going through TV ratings from 2023, and it's wild. And maybe the Caitlin Clark effect, I mean, it'll impact the WNBA to some extent.
Yeah.
But like the WNBA finals were not even on the radar.
Right.
And Iowa women's basketball is like considerably a bigger television draw than the championship game for the WNBA.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see when she goes. I think it will, but I think her star is brighter in the college game. But it will be very interesting to see how she changes the WNBA in the, I don't want to say perception, because I think we all perceive it to be a phenomenal league. Like if you watch the games, like these women are incredible, but they don't have the TV power, and they never really have, where Peacock is putting Iowa women and Purdue on to try and gain subscribers. I mean, that's a huge compliment to them.
Yeah, you're right. So the WNBA plays a 40-game regular season schedule, I think, which is, college is 30, 29, 30 for women, 31 for men-ish. So you're looking, I think, that Caitlin Clark, when Michael Jordan used to go to visiting arenas, I mean, they were all sellouts. There was an effect. Caitlin is doing that now. So the box office lift that Caitlin Clark will provide the WNBA, whether it's home in Indiana, if she goes this year, or on the road, will be undeniable. She is box office. The television ratings is the interesting thing you're talking about. And think of it this way. You have Caitlin Clark, who has been introduced to the entire college basketball world, whether you're a men's fan or a women's fan, and also people that previous to Caitlin Clark they had at best a passive interest or no interest in watching either men's or women's college basketball or women's college basketball. Caitlin Clark's changed that. I think there will absolutely be a television ratings lift when she gets to the league. How much, I don't know, but when you have the type of player that she is, and I'm sure the Iowa State fans are some of them are sick of hearing about Caitlin Clark, just because if Caitlin Clark was playing for someone other than Iowa, some of you might like her more.
Yeah,
but her talent,
it's jealousy.
I don't like her complaining personally. I think she complains to the officials too much, and I don't like that. But I'm still going to tune in to watch the Michael Jordan of women's basketball. And that's what I feel that Caitlin Clark is. She's the greatest offensive women's basketball player of all time.
We don't miss games here. My sister and I have two nieces that are 8th grade and sophomore, so they're both basketball players, and they watch the women's game. They don't really watch men's college basketball. They watch women's college basketball in their house. And our family, you know this, John, like we've been women's fans forever.
Yep, yeah.
We way before Caitlin Clark and any of this stuff. I remember watching as a kid Vivian Stringer and like all these Cheryl Swoops. I remember vividly my dad showing me her in Texas Tech when they were the #1 team in the country.
Yeah.
So this isn't a new thing for our house, but they're Iowa State fans. Okay,
right.
This is they are Iowa State fans, and my sister texted me the other night. She was very excited because the Iowa State women had this big game against West Virginia, and then the Iowa women were on Peacock, and my sister brought up a second TV, got a Peacock subscription so they could do both at the same time just to watch Caitlin Clark. They're not Iowa fans, right? Like that's the power that
they're fans of greatness.
Yes.
Yeah, take the name off the jersey. If you are a fan of greatness, I remember my friends and I back in the 90s, the early 90s, random cold day like tonight in the winter, an NBA game with the Bulls against the Bucks that did not matter. And we would like, hey, let's go to the bars. We're going to the bar tonight to watch MJ, right? Yep. We'd drive 15, 20 minutes into Peoria to watch that. To watch Michael Jordan, because you always feared that you were going to miss seeing something that you'd never seen before and you'll never see again. And while Kobe came after Michael, LeBron came after Kobe, two amazing, awesome players. In my life, there's nothing I've ever seen is like MJ. And that is how I feel for Caitlin Clark right now at 52 years old. I sometimes don't know when the Iowa men's team is playing, but I know when the women are playing, and I watch. Well, and that's not an indictment of the Iowa men. This team is a rebuilding year. That's fine. It happens. But Caitlin, you don't want to miss it.
I would argue, too, because you get a lot of pushback, and we don't have time for this because I got a 10 o'clock. We'll do this at some point, the racial conversation, because the Caitlin Clark thing is the Caitlin Clark thing is turned ugly, where it's like if you publicly support her, people will insinuate that you're racist. It's really weird.
Well, I haven't gotten that, but
it's out there. I mean, Don Staley's kind of throwing that crap out there. I guess my point is, again, from somebody who's watched the women's game forever, Holtzclaw, Diana Taurasi, all the greats that have come before Caitlin, Swoops, Rebecca Lobo. I'm leaving a ton of people out, but I'm just naming off the most famous women's basketball players of all time. To your point, they didn't have social media. They didn't have name, image, and likeness. Not all their games were on TV. Like that's as big of a deal as anything. Like you can stream all these games. You can watch all these games now. So Caitlin has those advantages. And two, it's she's transcending, and sometimes you can't define it. I can define it because I could say I saw Steph Curry start doing this with the range that he changed the game. Steph's the one that changed the game for everybody because he gave little boys and little girls who weren't 7 feet tall like Shaq something to strive for. And if you go watch youth games now, it's totally different. There's kids, their range is unbelievable. And maybe it's not good for the future of basketball. I don't know. But I've talked to Caitlin about this very thing, and she emulated that. And now she has brought it to the women's game, much like Steph did to the men's game. And you've got little girls and boys all over America wanting to play like Caitlin Clark. There's no women's player I can remember who has had that impact on the game. That's her legacy, in my opinion, just from a basketball standpoint. Like, she's changed it. And if you watch the women's game across the board, it is so much better of a product now than it was 15, 20 years ago when they were just, pounding it down low to the big and trying to get the layup and hopefully you get fouled. Well, now it's like it's fast paced. They're shooting from half court. Like, it's crazy. It's so much better of a product.
Right.
And I think Caitlin doesn't get all of that credit because there were great people who came before her, but due to all the circumstances and her very unique skill set, she has caught the attention that those others before her couldn't do.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, listen, Don Staley has a lived life experience that I'll never have. And, and I'm not into all the details of it all. But when Michael Jordan came along, he was standing on the shoulders of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, who basically opened the doors and got the interest that America had in Bird and Magic that started with their national championship game. Then they went to the NBA at the same time, 2 huge markets, LA, Boston. The NBA started to be seen not on tape delay. NBA finals in the 70s were on tape delay.
Yeah.
And then Jordan happened to come after they had opened that door. Caitlin Clark is standing on the shoulders of the greats that came before. She just also happens to be a transformative player with a skill set that the game's never seen on the offensive end before. And at a time when social media, NIL, and all these worlds combined, again, I don't have lived experiences of people of color, so I'm going to be respectful of their opinions. But Caitlin Clark just happens to be the right place, the right time, with the skill set that she's worked her 10,000 hours to hone that no one's ever had before her.
I hope that Caitlin does for the WNBA what the Dream Team did for the NBA.
Yeah, that was another boost. Yeah.
I don't know. That's a lot to put on her, but but if you sit and talk to her at length, and she's very passionate about growing the game. And I think she will do a really good antics on the court are one thing. I'm not crazy about a lot of the stuff either, but I also appreciate it because she's just being authentic and she's just being herself and she's not trying to be anybody else. So I appreciate that. Off the court and politically, not in the sense of Democrats and Republicans. I'm saying like meeting the right people, doing what's best for the women's game. I think she's going to do all that stuff really well. I think she'll be a great ambassador for the next, hopefully the next 20 years she plays.
I think so. Last thing, this will be 15 seconds. I don't really like going to sporting events anymore. Don't like the crowds other than going to Royals games because there's not really a crowd and it's summer and you're chilling.
You like the Royals and Iowa men's basketball.
There you go. I'm going to try to make it up somehow, some way over the next couple of months to watch Caitlin Clark play a game.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I don't, I will regret that for the rest of my life. Can I go
with you? I'd love to go.
Yeah, let me find a date. And you've interviewed her at length. I'm jealous of that. Kate, I've never met or talked to Caitlin Clark. This is the MJ. I feel like I don't want to miss out on the MJ part.
I bet you we get you a picture with her. How about that?
Dude, I would frame it. I would absolutely frame it. This kid is so much of a joy to watch. And I remember covering high school boys and girls at the Iowa State tournament back in the day for my job. I always wanted to do the girls games over the boys because the girls game was just at that level, it was more enjoyable. I'm starting to feel that the women's game right now is at that level. It's more enjoyable. It's a cleaner game.
It's about skill. The men's game now is all about toughness and roughing you up because all the super talented guys are in the NBA.
Yeah.
So now it's like, how old can we get and how much can we disrupt your freedom of movement? That's the
which is not basketball. And the women's game is a beautiful game. And I would love to meet Caitlin Clark sometime just to say thank you. I mean, thanks for I don't even know what. It's just so fun to watch, and I'm glad we're a witness to it.
John, appreciate you. Stay warm. We'll be in touch.
You up there.
We're gonna ride that Chiefs under. I'm gonna go and hammer it.
Yeah, I got it. Listen, I don't even know I can get out and make it to my betting spot 10 minutes away. It's so bad.
Got to get to the bridge.
I got to get to the troll bridge.
All right. He's John Miller. We're presented as always by our friends at Wild Rose Casinos. I'm going to go and place that bet right now. He's John Miller. I'm Chris Williams. Stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great weekend.